Motor Speedway, Indianapolis 500 highlights. Brought to you in part by Hardee's. We're out to win you over. And by Valvoline Motor Oil. People who know use Valvoline.
Good evening one final time, everyone. Live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Ed Sorensen along with our driver expert, Bobby Rahal, and the legendary voice of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Tom Carnegie, a man used to being described as a legend. Welcome for our final program here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You know, guys, this race has so much build-up. It takes a month to put it together. But I think what we had today over the last 10 to 15 laps in the 73rd Indy 500, where Emerson Fittipaldi finally outdueled Little Al to become the first foreign driver to win this thing in 23 years, made all the build-up worthwhile.
Well, it certainly, as far as having gone out early, in my case, it definitely was exciting. And what two better protagonists than Emerson and Al? And I know there was some question about the motives, but I don't think there was anything nefarious about any of it. It was pure racing, and either of them are great champions, and my congratulations to Emerson, but also to Al. They both drove beautifully.
Tom, real quickly, we've got to get to some tape, but you've been around here for a long, long time. When's the last time you recall a finish to a race that was as exciting as today?
Oh, go back to 1982, when Gordon Johncock and Rick Mears dueled in the last 10 laps of the race. That was exciting. This matched it, I'd rate both of them ones.
Unbelievable driving on the final 10 to 15 laps or so. But first, the pomp, the pageantry, and all the stuff that is associated with the Indy 500 before we even see a wheel turn on the track. Let's take a look at that right now. Race day dawns early at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The gates open at 5 a.m. to let through the hundreds of thousands of race fans who make this the biggest single-day sporting event in the world. 2.5 hours before the start of the race, the cars are brought out onto the track.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what an outstanding day for the race.
Of course, every year at the 500, we see our share of celebrities, and this year is no different. Vice President Dan Quayle, a native son, heads the guest list. We're now just about 10 minutes from the start of the race, and there are only a few more customary details to take care of. Okay, let's take a quick look to remind you folks just how the field started the 73rd running of the 500 today. The pole sitter, Rick Mears, judged in the minds of many to be the favorite to win a record-tying fourth. Alongside him on row one, Big Al, and on the outside of one, the eventual winner, Emerson Fittipaldi. Row two shaped up like this, Jim Crawford on the inside. In the middle of row two, Mario Andretti, and on the outside, it was Scotty Brayton. Row number three looked like this. We had our own Bobby Rahal on the inside, Little Al next to him, and Raul Boesel on the outside. Row four, we had A.J. Foyt, Randy Lewis, and John Andretti. And row five, Teo Fabi, Gary Bettenhausen, and Ari Leyendyke. Row six, Tero Palmroth, Scotty Pruitt, and Ludwig Heimrath. Row seven, Didier Taze, Bernard Jourdain, and Michael Andretti. Row eight, Tom Sneva, Gordon Johncock, and Derek Daly. And the last three rows, John Jones, Danny Sullivan, and Kevin Kogan on 9. Row 10, Rocky Moran, Dominic Dobson, Billy Vukovic III, and the 11th and final row, Davy Jones, Pancho Carter, and Rich Vogler. Okay, you want to see some racing? Let's go and check it out. 400,000 plus in the stands here today, and when they take the green, Bobby, Emerson Fittipaldi wasted no time whatsoever diving into the lead.
It was really kind of a ragged start, even from my perspective. It almost seemed like the whole right side of the grid got with it a little bit more than the left side, and I know I had to sort of take it a little bit easy because Jim Crawford seemed to get off a little bit slowly, but I think that was because of the people in front of him got off a little bit slowly. And luckily, you know, and the most importantly, everybody got through the first turn cleanly. So I guess in that respect, it was a good start.
I was so impressed with the way Emerson Fittipaldi shot out in front and started building that lead, and right away, and with each lap added to it.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, in all our broadcasts, I've said I thought Emerson was particularly motivated this May, and I think he understood it was his best chance maybe ever to win this race. And I figured that he would be the rabbit, that Mears and Unser wouldn't be, but that Fittipaldi would, and that was pretty much proven right from the word go.
Well, he had that PC-18, of course, with the Chevy Power, the only other car with that combination other than the Penske's here this month, and he led right from the start on up to the 34th lap. And then there was a major incident only a couple of laps into the race, and again it involved Kevin Hardluck Kogan, a guy, Bobby, we've talked about earlier in the month, you know so well, after really outdueling him to win back in 1986. He got a little bit high in turn 4 and was involved in just a spectacular crash. The guy was barely hurt, just a phenomenal thing after you see this.
I mean, it's a miracle. I didn't see it. Fortunately, when you see something like this, it really does disturb you. Again, the speeds of the cars are getting us, I think, into areas of the track that accidents never took place in. And you're not only concerned with the safety of the driver, but in this case, it's obvious, and it's been obvious in a number of cases before this incident, you're getting into the pit lane where there are people that are unprotected and what have you, and there is going to be a disaster one of these days if the speeds aren't cut down, in my estimation.
Believe it or not, he was not badly hurt. We talked with machinist team owner Andy Penske after the accident.
He was coming high out of 4, and the car spun abruptly, hitting the outside wall, and of course you saw it come backwards into the pit area and hit the steel divider at the end of the pit entrance almost squarely. At that point, the car separated and the tub flew down the racetrack and came to a halt.
Now, Tom, you have an update on Kevin's condition, correct?
Well, I know that he was released from Methodist Hospital at 12:15, had a few abrasions and obviously shaken up quite badly, and look at the machine. And he went home. He did not return to the racetrack, but we assume that everything is okay. Released from Methodist Hospital shortly after noon.
Okay, that brought the yellow out for laps 4 through 15. You saw Gary Bettenhausen being pushed back to gasoline alley. He had a bent valve, did not finish. Didn't even really get started. We go back green. Gordy Johncock soon thereafter is out. He had a blown engine on lap number 19. Bobby, the attrition rate at the start of this race just seemed to be unbelievable.
Well, I think as we spoke of the other night, I felt that attrition would be particularly high in this race because of the pace. No one ever imagined that the pace would be 220 miles an hour, 221 that it was later on. But early on, we were running 215, 216. And just keeping in touch with the leaders.
Teo Fabi out on lap 23.
Well, we have a problem with the engine. We don't know yet exactly what it is, but they just told me to get out of the car.
Was this something that happened all of a sudden? Was it running well before the problem?
It was running okay. Just on the last lap, something went wrong. I came in with the engine, which wasn't running, and they told me to get out.
Turned out to be ignition problems that ended the day prematurely for the 89 March with Porsche Power. Now, Little Al gets Rick Mears right here. And there were just some tremendous individual duels throughout this race today, Tom.
Oh, yes, there were. It was fun to see them move in and out. And, Bobby, you just couldn't get up there and get in that number 2, number 3, number 4 position.
Well, I think our highest we got was 4th or 5th. We passed Rick, and then he drafted past me. But this year, the turbulence was less of a concern because of the grip, I think, in the track and in the tires. And, I mean, it was 2 or 3 abreast sometimes.
Yes.
A lot of fun.
It got the fans certainly excited by that 2 and 3 abreast moving into turn number 1.
Man,
Many a cheer.
It was wild sometimes.
It was wild.
Anyway, after the first 50 laps, Emerson Fittipaldi on the lead, followed by Michael Andretti, his dad Mario, Al Jr., and Rick Mears had fallen from the pole down to number 5, so it was really shaping up. There you see the second 5 through 50 as a battle of some of the superstars of the kart circuit. There's a look at Emmo right there. Now, I guess we're going to, we have Emerson Fittipaldi standing by live at a nearby restaurant. We're going to take a break here. When we return live from the Speedway, we will speak live with the 73rd winner of the Indianapolis 500. Don't go away. Emmo coming up next. Fittipaldi won the Indianapolis 500. Now we pick up our highlights on the second 50 laps of this race, starting with lap 51. Little Al will pass Mario Andretti right here as the dueling continues, and then a bit later on we will see Emerson take Jim Crawford from behind, and that gives Emmo a 6-second lead over Michael Andretti, and that number 20 Marlboro car, Bobby, was running very, very well in traffic today.
If you look at the number of laps led and who led when, it's obvious that Emerson dominated. And I don't know if you can make a judgment between one and the other, between who was the most deserving, but certainly Emerson ran the strongest all day long, and in the end took home all the marbles.
And then our own Bobby Rahal. Sadly, for all Bobby Rahal fans, and that includes a bunch of folks at Channel 6, went out on lap 58 with a dropped valve. And this is what Bobby had to say at that very moment when his 500 ended.
I think it's dropped a valve or something. It just coming out the fourth turn there in traffic, all of a sudden just started making expensive noises. So unfortunately, the car's running good.
Expensive noises. At this point in the race, a lot of people start hitting the pits. Ari Lyondike coming in right there in that number 9 Provimi Ville car. And then Raoul Boisel spins coming in.
I think one of the Granatelli's cars is right in front of me, and he pulled out. Their pits in front of ours, and I need to stop a little bit too hard, and so I think locked the rear wheels and spun out.
Okay, now we pick up Emo again, pitting on lap 61, and this is where the leaders came in, Bobby.
Michael Andretti, who started from the outside of row 7 to begin this race, is in for his second pit stop. In 60 laps, he is moved to the second place spot behind Emerson Fittipaldi. Right rubber is being changed, left rear is being changed. Excellent pit stop. He's away in 15 seconds flat.
As we take a look at Rick and Crawford and Mario all coming into the pits right here, and Tom Sneva after that, it was really was a wild day because you see some of the guys coming in. We had some near misses in the pits. And do you attribute that to the faster speeds?
I attribute it to the new surface to some degree, but what I've never seen a race where there have been so many spin-outs in the pit lane. In my first pit stop, I was trying to get out of the pits, and John Andretti had spun and Tom Sneva couldn't get going, and they were both in the first 2 pits in front of me, and so I sat there and I probably lost 10 seconds waiting for those 2 to get sorted out. Of course, Raoul spinning. I think the fact of the matter remains that no matter how smooth it was, there was still not that much grip associated with the surface.
And there's Tom Sneva, Tom, going out for the day on lap number 55.
You know, with all the precautions, Bobby, proper valves for fuel and all that, it's surprising to me if fire could break out.
It shouldn't, really.
No, that's what I thought.
I mean, and why? I think when you see so many cars not having a problem, I think there must have been some kind of a mechanical failure in the fueling equipment somewhere to cause the kind of fire that Tom had.
Then we go green again. Lap 64, Emerson and Michael Andretti continue to duel at the head of the field. And at about this time, it started to look like it could be a long day for Roger Penske. The guy we profiled last night talked about what a dominating influence he has been and his drivers have been over the last 20 years here at Indianapolis. But this was not Penske's day. In fact, it was the first time in 15 years that not a single Penske driver has finished the race. Al Sr. right there pits with some problems. Meanwhile, little Al, his kid, is moving up.
Well, I think if there's going to be a story aside from Emerson and Al, it's the failure of the Penskes to win. The works, the official Penskes to win. But racing's a humbling sport, and just when you think you've got it knocked, it rears its head and reminds you that it really has control, not you.
Then Big Al went out, Tom, and you see a quick shot of Emo there continuing to cruise at the head of the field, and then Big Al right back into the pits. He was really having all kinds of problems.
Yes, and all that time, Denny Sullivan was having problems. Made several pit stops in a row, and you knew that the problems were major. And Mears wasn't going anywhere.
Running fourth at the time, but he just didn't have the firepower that he's had all month long. And then lap 70, Emo leads Michael. And then Big Al goes out on 68. He had a clutch problem, so that was the first sign that it was really a bad day for the Penske crew. Of course, Al Unser Sr. turns 50 years old tomorrow. He's been a 4-time winner of this great race. A lot of people thought he might make it a record-breaking number 5 today, but it was not to be. It won't be a real happy birthday for Big Al.
The clutch went out, started slipping.
Same thing happened in Danny's car. Did you know about that?
Yeah, they came over the radio and told me, so we were trying to be careful.
How was the car running up to that point, aside from that problem?
We were happy. It was doing very well. I was happy.
When you take a guy like that, of his stature and with that car out of the race, that's got to give the other guys like Emo and like Michael a lot of confidence right there. That's one guy out of the way.
Well, that, and of course Danny being out, no matter where he started, you had to figure that he was going to get in the picture at some point. And Al, whenever he's happy, you always got to be aware of it, be concerned. But he and I had a good battle for a lot of laps, and they were all handling very well. And it just again, you still got to get to the end. And no matter how well you performed in practice or qualifying, that really, in many respects, doesn't have a lot to do with race day.
Well, I'll tell you something. We're going to mention more about this in a moment, but you see several instances here of guys running below the white line today. There was a big brouhaha about this, as you folks remember a few weeks back. They initially said they were going to give a stop-and-go penalty. Several guys were living below that white line with all 4 tires today, as you see Emmo coming into the pits and Michael taking the lead here on lap 86. But USAC didn't even warn anyone, as far as I know. Maybe a couple of guys, but there were no penalties at all.
Well, I think in a large part, you know, they said you could put 2 wheels under. Well, 2 wheels under could be all but about 1 foot of the car. I mean, you could literally put the right side wheels on the line and not be penalized. But I don't think anybody wanted to make the decision to hinder someone's performance in the race because they crossed the white line.
Well, it's almost unenforceable, and we tried to talk to USAC Chief Steward Tom Binford about it right after the race, and here's what he had to say about something that was very confusing and very blatant.
I hope they can do something about the safety lane to make it less attractive to drive on. That's the ultimate solution. We were trying to, this year, to deal with a situation which was not ideal. I know if you watch that race all day long, you're going to see a lot of 4 wheels under, and you're going to say that's an infraction. Why didn't they call it? But that isn't an infraction. It has to be a pattern. And I will say 5 or 6 of the cars had a pattern that was more that way than others. But I was hesitant to say that it was continuous, it was shortening the racetrack, it was any particular advantage to them, or that it was done in any less safe manner in which than the others were driving.
Okay, now that Emmo went into the pits, lost the lead to Michael. Michael held that lead for laps 88 through 92, and then Mario is going to pit with some problems. It almost looked here like Mario Andretti was going to be struck by that bad luck that's characterized his Indianapolis career, but he finally got things together from a technical standpoint and finished the race.
Yeah, but he dropped way down for a while. Clear down 12, 15.
I don't think this was a very happy race for Mario, particularly after he got it fixed and went out and was running faster than the leaders. So I don't think this is one that he's going to fondly remember.
No, it isn't.
Now this next pit stop we will see. Michael comes flying in after that. You see them removing the engine cowling on his dad's car, and this has just taken forever and putting him way, way behind the field. These other guys out there just streaking around. Watch what happens here when Michael comes in. He hits a crew member. Knocks the guy down. Fortunately, he had that tire in position and was not hurt, but that could have broken a leg if he hadn't had that tire there as a buffer. That puts Emmo back on the lead. I tell you, there were so many close calls in the pits today.
Well, nevertheless, even though there were some minor mishaps, I think the chance for a major one like we would have had with the old pit lane where it was so rough that the cars were hardly on the ground most of the time have been minimized. You know, people have got to get used to the new pit lane, but it is still much, much better.
Okay, there you see him, Emerson Fittipaldi continuing to lead after 100 laps. He's halfway home. Here's your top 5 at the midway point of the 73rd 500. Fittipaldi, Michael Andretti, Al Jr., Rick Mears, and Jim Crawford. A lot more racing, a lot more driver comments to show you, a lot more to hear from Bob and Tom. We'll be back with sports after
Bob, that's terrible.
Action for you. Let's pick up the race in the second half, laps 101 through 150. Emerson Fittipaldi halfway home, winning the biggest race of his life. He pits, and Michael leads here on lap 113. We had Scott Hoke in Emerson Fittipaldi's pit at this point. And really at this point, it's really starting to boil down to a two-man race. There aren't many guys left at all on the lead lap. I believe at this point, the only guys on the lead lap were Emmo, Michael, and Al Jr. There were several other drivers, you know, just close enough to maintain contact, but they were 5 or 6 laps down. As mentioned, Emmo comes into the pits. Scott Hoke right there with him. Pit stops at this point in the race, very crucial.
Here's another pit stop from your leader, Emerson Fittipaldi. He has led this race from the very beginning in the red, in the white and orange Marlboro, car number 20. Getting some fuel, getting a change of tires. The air guns are down. Jacks are still up. Now the fuel comes out. Emmo is down and out on his way in about 18.5 seconds. Emerson Fittipaldi.
After that 18.5-second stop, Bob, Michael took the lead over for 10 laps, and you really got a sense here that this could be his day because his car was performing beautifully and really kind of pulling away.
I was in the sweets in turn 2 at this stage and drowning my sorrows a little bit, and it was obvious. He was looking awfully strong. I really thought that he had the measure Emerson, and of course he had problems later on, but nevertheless it was between those two in my estimation.
Rick Mears out at this point on lap 113.
You know, we've had a good month up to this point, the qualifying and everything else, and I'm happy with that end of it. Obviously we'd like to run all day today, and you know, the car was working very well. We had low boost. I could only run 43, low 44 inches of boost, and so that's what happened on the start, and I was having trouble with traffic because of that. But as soon as I could get out and run myself, and we were starting to make adjustments to help me with that particular end of it, and we just got through running some laps of 216, 217, so it wasn't going to be all that bad.
We had the clutch went out, I guess, in both Danny and Al's car, and Rick had an engine problem, but just what can we do? We're out of the race, so let's wait and see. I guess we're rooting for Emerson now.
Well, I'll tell you something, Tom, as we see Michael leading here and Emo chasing, the Rocket Man is gone, and with that, the predictions of a lot of people who just thought off his performance all May that he was just a lock to win this race for a record-tying fourth time.
That's right. So many people not only picked Rick Mears, but his partner, Al Unser, and also had Danny Sullivan. They were expecting a 1-2-3 finish, and I'm sure a lot of fans and a lot of the media thought that way. They went with the obvious. And as Bobby Rail, I think, mentioned, so much is based on, in their minds, on the qualification, not on what is going to happen race day.
Here's Michael in the pits.
Just past the 120-lap mark, Michael Andretti, the current leader, is into the pits. He had built an 8-second lead. We look for Emerson Fittipaldi to come by him as Michael continues to take on fuel. Right side rubber is being changed. 15 seconds, 16 seconds. The revs are being kept up, and he is finally away at the 18-second mark.
All right, Kevin, so Emo goes back on top, courtesy of that Michael Andretti pit stop, and then more attrition. Bobby, Ari Lyondike with a blown engine. He's out on lap 123.
So we were feeling pretty good.
Coming up right here after we see a little bit of Emo. Ari Lyondike having problems today in that number 9 Provimi vehicle.
That one looks seriously hurt. The Cosworths obviously had their problems today, but don't count them out. I think that particularly my engine, which was last year's end of the year special, we ran right with the Chevys, so don't count us out yet.
Here's something I really want you to address. We're yellow for 3 laps. Emo goes into the pits to change tires, and to get a different kind of tires, and he's in there for 30 seconds or more. What was the deal today with so many tire changes from the soft to the hard?
There were 2 compounds. Initially, we came here with 1 compound, a softer compound, and the track generated so much grip that the tires were blistering. Goodyear then introduced a harder compound, particularly for the right side, thinking that that would be safer. In the end result, in fact, last Sunday, people were running the softer compounds and not having problems, and running the hard compound and having problems. So this is a real sort of a guessing game a little bit. And I know in my case today, I blistered both compounds. So I think, in fact, the car felt better with the soft tires. So I'm sure they were experimenting a little bit.
All righty, what a story this guy has been all month. Jim Crawford had a severe crash in turn 3 a week and a half ago, got the car back a week later, and he's out on lap 135.
The clutch problem was there from
Jim Crawford.
Lap 2 or 3. Something
And they're preparing for another pit stop for Fittipaldi.
Just behind me.
They're preparing for another pit stop for Emerson Fittipaldi.
This has to be a very grueling trip for you out there. I notice you're perspiring very, very pretty. Is it warm on the track? No, it's not too bad. It's quite pleasant. The track's getting a little bit slippy now, but we were about to start making adjustments to try and keep up with it, but it's too late now.
So the Scotsman and the Mack Tools Lola Buick out on lap 135 with drivetrain problems. Then 10 laps of yellow. You see A.J. Foyt, the 4-time winner, now in 6th place, but several laps down. And you see a lot of this quick dry on the track to cover the oil that spewed from Crawford's car. Does that in itself make the track slick in spots?
Well, it can make it slick, as Tom well knows. You know, in fact, I think Emerson lost the lead to Michael at one point because he got very high in the groove and got into it.
We'll see that later.
And I think that hurt him. But I mean, obviously, you just try to stay off and let somebody else, you know, rub it into the track or blow it away.
Well, they go green again at lap 149 and through 150 laps. 50 laps to go. The greatest championship in all of auto racing. We've got Emerson Fittipaldi still on the lead, Michael second, and Al Jr. in 3rd place. The only 3 guys at this point on the lead lap. You see Boiselle and Brayton there, 4th and 5th, but they're way, way behind in terms of laps down. So we have a 3-man race as you check out the second 5 after 150 laps. And We will be back with more racing live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway right after this timeout. Don't go away. We've got a great conclusion for you. Stay with us. For the Indianapolis 500 title, let's get right back to the video. Emo leading, but Michael will take him here, coming up on lap number 154. And Bob, this is the point I alluded to a little bit earlier in the show where it really looked like he had the better car, at least a stronger car.
At this stage, I think he certainly did. And here Emerson did get up in the oil dry, and I think that affected him. You look at the lines there. Michael's line was much tighter, and you get in the draft, and it doesn't take much to get by the fellow, especially if you have the same engine.
Right down the midpoint of the backstretch, or just at the end of it, where he took him.
You know, I can't even begin to imagine what it must feel like to be so close, be running so well, and then have your dreams for an Indy 500 title snuffed out by a blown engine. I mean, that's got to be devastating.
It's unfortunate. It's happened to us all at some stage or another. What impressed me, Tom, was the pace of the race, that all but 3 fellows were on the same lap, and the others were 2, 3, 4 laps down, even at this point.
That's right, 5, 6 laps down. Here's Michael's engine blowing, and he made the statement after the race that I hope that I have not inherited my father's bad luck, right?
Very true. Michael Andretti, nice guy, handled himself with tremendous class after that bitter disappointment.
You had Emo covered and it looked like you were pulling away from him.
Well, I think we did in the end. You know, I think we had a good set of tires on, and the car was working really well in traffic. It was just a dream. You know, it was a dream race up till then, because I was not taking anything out of it, just, you know, being patient.
Obviously, you guys did a fantastic job starting from where you did to get to the front of the pack so quickly.
Well, that just shows how good the car was working. In traffic, it was just so good. I could run anywhere I wanted to. It's just, you know, I knew we were in for a good race up to then, because I knew the way we went up through that, you know, this thing's going to be competitive.
I remember.
Well, Mike and his wife Sandy just have to be crushed by that. No telling who would have won this race if that car had held together, but we'll never know. Here, Emo pits under yellow, just for a splash of fuel, and when he leaves the pit, he takes a 7-second lead with him. Now the Brazilian, 2-time world driving champion, will lead this race from laps 166 through lap 195. Leaves the pits right there. We see a quick shot of Scott Brayton coming up in that number 22 pink and blue Amway car, way back in terms of laps, but turning in a solid performance. And this, Bob and Tom, is where this race gets really interesting. We'll see Terrell Palmroth go out on 165 with a broken spindle, but all eyes at this point were on the battle shaping up between that young man, Al Unser, and Emerson Fittipaldi.
Well, it really surprised me at that point that I really thought Emerson Fittipaldi, because he had led so much of the race, had raced so much in command, was going to let Al Unser Jr. get that close to him.
I agree.
I didn't anticipate it at all, to be honest.
He was so much stronger for so much of the race. I didn't even think it would be a contest. But, you know, he didn't take on tires on his last stop, and I think that may have contributed to Al being able to catch him a little bit. But I also think Al saw the prize in front of him all of a sudden. You know, not all of a sudden, but I think he was pacing himself a little bit through the race. I spoke with him, and he said there was a time to go flat out, and there wasn't a time, and he decided at this point it was obviously now or never, and it was certainly exciting.
Well, it certainly got the fans on their feet. Reminiscent of the Gordon Johncock, Rick Mears affair back in 1982.
It was such a pitched battle, and it was so sustained. I mean, nobody was backing down. It kind of reminded me of the Preakness a couple of weeks ago with just a whole lot more horsepower. You just had these 2 magnificent cars and 2 great drivers, and they were both giving it everything they had, and it was just going to take fate, I guess, to decide the outcome.
Well, in this case, as in so many races, it's traffic, isn't it? Traffic was I think the key.
The key, yes.
You know, on their own, Al was a little bit quicker at the end, but in traffic, Al got balked a little bit, and that's all it took for Emerson. And I mean, as they say, with 2 laps to go, you don't hold back. You know when to go.
There's the look at Scotty Brayton. I jumped the gun a little bit on that, and we saw Teresa, Emerson Fittipaldi's wife, in there, and I know Debbie Rahal could address this, but I tell you, that's just got to be gut-wrenching for the family and the friends and the crew. As we see Palmroth come in with only 3 wheels.
It was lucky for him that it was his left front tire here, not his right front, because obviously, and it was too bad because he was running quite well, and there were a number of people in the back running well, but of course all the action up front sort of took everything away.
Well, they were so far removed from the battle for first and second. You know, 4 laps down, 5 laps down, 6 laps down. And all attention, certainly at this point, was on this man right here, Fittipaldi, and the challenge from Junior.
Exactly, and at this point, the people sitting right across from the pits had just an outstanding seat to see some dramatic theater, because both the Gallus crew and that Marlboro crew were just going at it, and they were just trying to get those guys in and out as quick as possible.
With about 12 laps to go, Emerson Fittipaldi has gotten rid of that handling problem in his car. His fuel situation is very good at this point. He will not have to make another pit stop. But as for Al Unser Jr., we don't know whether he'll have to come in again.
Here in the Little Al pit with less than 8 laps to go, Al Unser Jr.'s crew chief and owner Rick Gallus says they will not make another fuel stop. The lighter fuel load is allowing Little Al to gain on Emo. It could also put him out of the race if he runs out of fuel.
So, folks, the battle lines are drawn. This is lap 191, and this man-on-man duel begins between Emerson and Little Al. Bobby, why don't you pick it up from right here?
Well, I'll tell you, as I say, we were in the suites up in turn 2, and Danny Sullivan was up there, and he said all of a sudden, hey, look, Al's catching him. And I was going, no, there's no way, because, I mean, Emerson, as I say, Emerson had been so much stronger for so much of the race, and to think that Al all of a sudden could close it, and sure enough,
got him.
Perceptibly, not just imperceptibly, but perceptibly, every lap he was catching him.
Yes.
Was that because he had less fuel in the tank? Was one of the reasons?
Well, I wouldn't think so.
I think, frankly, because Al changed tires and Emerson didn't.
There he got him.
You know, that may have contributed to being able to work traffic and work the corners a little bit better, have more than one line. Emerson looked like he was sort of stuck with one line, whereas Al was able to go high or low.
He picked him off in the third turn there. That's where there was a lot of passing action today. Now it's all Al Unser Jr. with Emerson Fittipaldi chasing him, but there's a lot of traffic, including Mario Andretti out there still.
And it really seemed at this point, I thought like Emo didn't panic. I mean, I know he's got so much experience, but like you said earlier, there's a time to go for it, and there's a time to hang back, and I think he picked the right time.
Well, and I cannot, I guess I can't undervalue the degree at what traffic, the effect traffic can have on you, and I'm sure Al, he saw this coming, and I'm sure his heart was in his mouth a little bit, because traffic was the only potential problem for him.
And right there it happened.
There it goes, lap 198. That is your race. And Emerson almost lost it too. It looked like he just got a little bit pinched there.
He got it pretty sideways.
How close he is to the grass down there.
I think Al Unser Jr. expressed it when he said, when you both go into a turn like that, you're both race drivers, one of you is not going to come out. Many times.
As I say, I know it bothered Emerson quite a bit, and I saw it on the in-house tape, I guess, the in-house video. The question was asked, was this in retribution for the Meadowlands? And Emerson took offense at that, and I think rightly so. I don't believe that. I know Emerson; he is not that kind of a driver. It was unfortunate, and it was lucky that they both weren't taken out.
But
you know, the fact of the matter remains, Emerson was able to get by and win the race.
Now, what happened here? Have you had a chance to talk to Al? Looks like he's giving Emo the thumbs up, but who knows at that point?
No, that's what he said he did. He gave him a little applause and then the thumbs up. And I believe that. And he was saluting a champion. The guy beat him. They were both going all out. He lost it. Emerson went on.
You think Mario Andretti somewhere tonight smiling?
Well, I don't think so either. I mean, nobody, especially at a place like this and at the speeds we're running, you don't intentionally knock somebody out of the race. It was, I think Al, as you say, Tom, Al was quick to give credit for a great race.
That's right. Something you seldom see, the checkered flag and the yellow flag at the same time at Indianapolis. But you seldom see it.
And everybody was just had their hearts pounding for a flying finish, and it's just too bad they didn't come all the way down. But it's about as close as you can get, and so exciting.
But there was drama there at the end, and the stands erupted. When Al Unser Jr. took the lead, and then when the accident happened, an audible sigh from the crowd, and
take a swig of milk. Take a swig of milk, Emo, and talk to us, buddy.
Some incredible racing today. What kind of feeling did you have when you came to the track this morning?
You know, as I knew I could have a good race. You know, I knew if I would start and I would take the lead in turn 1, I would have no turbulence and my car would be well balanced. That's what happened. I mean, I was very fast from the beginning. The car was perfect. The team made a great work. That's the car I crashed in Phoenix. And you know, the Marlboro team has just made a fantastic work, and I'm very happy.
To win Indianapolis, what does it mean?
Oh, I know. I still don't realize. I mean, I just won now. I'm sure when I'm going to read in the newspaper tomorrow, then I realize I won the race. It was a traffic situation. Our junior come out of turn 2 slower than he was the lap before, and I got some speed on him. I passed him on the straight, and then he started passing me back again, going towards turn 3. And I was on the inside line, he was on the outside, and we started turn 3 like that. And we touched wheels, and I nearly spun off, and he spun.
We're okay. I think the car's okay too. We didn't hit all that hard, but we hit hard enough not to keep going. So.
What actually happened up there? A lap and a half to go, and you and Emma were battling for the lead. What happened?
Well, basically what happened is we came on lap traffic and coming off at 2, and that messed me up a little bit, and I couldn't get off the corner as well. And so that allowed Emma to take a slingshot on me. We got side by side there, and I was going underneath a lap car on my right, and Emma was on my left. And there about halfway down, I started being able to pull Emma, and so I went ahead and went in there, you know, ahead of him, and then since he was so tight on the corner, he couldn't turn tight enough, and I was up as high as I could go to allow him room, and anyway he hits me and I go spinning.
And as I would get into traffic and back out of the throttle a little bit, the engine would just go dead on me. I had no car throttle engine. It would just flooded the engine all the way through, and in traffic it was just killing me. You know, I just couldn't do anything.
AJ, the fan support that you get year in and year out, does that make you come back year after year as much as anything else?
It makes you feel good that they're still behind you and they haven't given up on us yet.
Well, that is the story of the race, and from one legend, A.J. Foyt, to another legend, Emerson Fittipaldi, who joins us live now from One-Eyed Jack's here in Indianapolis. M.O., congratulations. Hang around. Have some more milk, buddy. We'll be back to talk with you live after this timeout. It's champion. I bet he can't even believe it yet. At the Indianapolis 500, Emerson Fittipaldi. Tom, you've been around here a lot longer than I have. Bobby, you know a lot more than I do, so you guys do the interview.
Well, I'd like to ask Emerson, first of all, congratulations, Emerson. I know your parents are happy. Are they in Brazil tonight?
Thank you very much, Tom.
Are your parents in Brazil tonight?
Yeah, they are.
Well, I'm having a little trouble hearing us there.
Emerson, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear better, yes.
Okay, Tom, tell those guys to hush up out there,
yes,
okay?
Please, quiet.
All right. You're the champ. You don't have to take any guff off anybody. Tom was asking if your folks from Brazil were in town tonight.
You still can't.
Still can't hear.
Are your parents in town?
I cannot hear yet, sorry.
Okay, listen, let's ask you about the race. How does it feel? Has it sunk in yet that you're the 500 champion?
No, I mean, it's a fantastic feeling, you know, to win this race, and it was a dream always for me, and incredible.
Emerson, this is Bobby.
Hi, Bobby.
My congratulations. You were a great, we've lost him. We're a great Formula One champion, and I just think you're going to be a great Indianapolis 500 champion and a great ambassador for our kind of racing.
Thank you very much, Bobby. Thank you.
Is this bigger to you, M.O., than the 2 World Driving Championships, or can you even compare them?
Oh, you know, today's win for me was greater than win the 2nd championship. Was for sure the most important race of my life, and the most important victory of my life. I know that Bobby already experienced that when he won, and you know the feeling, Bobby. I mean, it's fantastic.
I'd just like to ask you, Emerson, you took command of the race on the first turn of the first lap and led by such hefty margins early in the race. And it did sort of surprise me that Michael Andretti was able to pass you, and then later on Al Unser Jr. was able to pass you because you led for, 158 laps. Why were they able to catch you?
On the mid-distance stone, the track started to be different. My car started pushing more and more, and I had to change. I tried different set of tires to see if I could balance it better the car, but the car was still pushing. I slowed down quite a lot at that time, and you could see where the oil was dropped. when Mike was behind me. Turn 2, I went out a little wide. I have to back off because the push, and Michael passed me on the back straight. And similar situation happened with our junior. My car was a little too much understeering towards the end of the race, and I was losing some time there.
Emmo, we just saw the crash right there that sent Al Jr.'s hopes of winning this race spinning up against the wall there in 3. How close did you come to losing control as well?
You know, it was just a question of I was on the inside near the grass, and our junior was on the outside. And when our cars touch each other, I feel the back end start sliding, and luckily I put opposite lock, and I managed to correct the car, and I was very close to spin off. I mean, really close.
Isn't it true, Emerson, that they had to replace the gearbox this morning or something with the gearbox?
No, I had everything running smooth the whole
everything, because I had heard something to the effect that they'd had a problem with the car before the race. But once again, my congratulations to you. You drove beautifully. I picked you as one of my 3 picks to win all month. You've been very strong. Now you can stop for the rest of the year and let the rest of us win some.
Emerson,
thank you very much.
Are you aware that you're the first foreign driver to win here since Graham Hill did it in 1966? That's got to make you feel very good as well.
You know, it's a great feeling. And I remember when I joined the Team Lotus, and I started work with Colin Chapman in Formula One, and Colin Chapman that has bring Jim Clark to Indianapolis. And Colin, he told me a lot about Indy and about the win that Jim Clark had here, and this, you know, it's amazing that happened today with me. I remember when I was having dinner with Colin Chapman, beginning of the 70s.
You are the Indianapolis 500 champion. You can go to bed tonight and get a real good night's sleep because you're going to wake up the morning as the greatest race driver in the world, at least for now. Thanks so much for taking time to be with us, and congratulations, Emmo.
Thank you very much.
All right. What a great champion he will be, and
very much so.
Certainly was today. Take a break here, back with some final comments. We will run down the whole 33-car field for you when we come back. You know, on the time, just less than 3 hours. The average speed of Emerson Fittipaldi was 167.581, so your record from 86 survives at 170.7.
At least there was something good that came out of it for me today.
Don't you get something out of that?
No, I don't think so.
The record survival award?
Still amazing considering how many yellows there were and for how long the yellows, you know, how many laps they were held, that the average speed was as high as it was.
A couple other things. 16 lead changes by 5 drivers, 7 yellows that took up 43 laps of running, and 15 ended up running, 18 ended up out of commission. Now, here's the final field, the final way the 33 drivers ended up, and of course, your champion of the 73rd Indy 500, Emerson Fittipaldi. As we tick on through, Tom, Bob, jump on in there with any comments. Just keep it moving.
I love the way Al Unser charged at the end. Raul Boisel was down. It's a good thing that Emerson kept going.
Right, and we've got the Judd engine there, which even though I think he was 6 laps down at that point, that's I think the highest finish for a Judd here.
Rich Vogler started 33rd, finished up there in 8th. The Hoosier, glad to see that. Jourdain, the highest finishing rookie. Scott Pruitt, John Jones, 3 rookies in a row. Who will get the Rookie of the Year? Who knows?
That's up for grabs. Yes. I agree. Rocky Moran, Derek Daly. I don't think Derek had a fun day. He looked like he was struggling all day. Of course, Michael obviously didn't have fun.
And Dominic Dobson. That accident, incidentally, of Kogan happened right in front of his pit.
Right, well, Dominic Dobson was running 5th, and he just touched the wall, bent the suspension, and he would have been in for a top 5 finish had he just been able to stay off the wall.
Look at old number 23 right there, and number 24. Yeah. How far the mighty have fallen in the course of one afternoon.
Again, I think if nothing else comes out of this, for the media particularly, to learn that just when you think everything is predictable, something will happen, and the failure of the Penske group to finish all 3 really points to that.
All number 26.
Wise.
Well, it's
you're either real good at masking disappointment, or you're just a philosophical person.
I'm very racing teaches you to be philosophical, and you know, my crew did a super job all month long, and you know, I'm not the only guy disappointed, so there's no point in raining on their parade. They're obviously sad and disappointed, but very determined to continue to do well.
And that old WRTV Channel 6 car, Tom, came in 31. We had a piece of sponsorship.
We tried, didn't we?
And fortunately, no injuries.
Yes.
What are your final summations, quickly, both of you, on this?
Very, very exciting race, and it proves that no team can be dominant.
That's right.
Year after year.
What about you, Bob?
Well, I agree with Tom, and I also think that the pace of this race This year, 221 miles an hour in the race. You know, what is that? 12 miles an hour quicker than the previous lap record, which was mine.
The speeds we saw in practice,
phenomenal,
too. Yeah.
Phenomenal. And the tires, the surface, the cars, who knows what the future will hold.
It's just a sensational sport, and IndyCar racing just seems to be getting better. And as we take one last look at Emerson Fittipaldi, I'd just like to sit beside this guy this month.
These race highlights were brought to you in part by Hardee's. We're out to win you over. And by Valvoline Motor Oil. People who know use Valvoline.
The 73rd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race is now complete. This was a very special year at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Special for the victory that was scored yesterday, but special too because once again we are able to look back in history. We're able to look back 80 years now of history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If I can direct your attention to the side, the number 34 car. A 1909 Buick. It was the winner in one of the first short races held in 1909 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway 80 years ago, driven by Gaston Chevrolet and Barney Oldfield. And then 75 years ago, in 1912, the 500-mile race was now in its second year. And there is Joe Dawson's National, just like the Marmon, a car built here in Indianapolis and a 500-mile race winner. And then 50 years ago, 1939, the number one Maserati, and of course one of the most familiar cars out at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame Museum, it is Wilbur Shaw's car. And then 25 years ago, another number one, this one belonging to A.J. Foyt. The Sheridan Thompson Special. It is the last roadster to win at the Indianapolis 500. 80 years of history before you here in the auditorium this evening. This is the 80th anniversary of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Let's go a little more recent. Let's go back to yesterday, the 73rd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. I think this is one they're going to be writing about for a very long time. Let's take a look at some of the video that was taken yesterday at the Speedway, and some spectacular shots, in fact, they were. All of the opening festivities. And then, of course, on the second lap, Kevin Cogan off of the fourth turn. The race became one of pursuits. Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi. Lap 198. 73rd running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. The race itself, of course, is a long month of May, a difficult time for most of these drivers and crews. During the next 2 hours, we're going to be discussing some of their feats throughout the month and certainly their accomplishments in the 500-mile race. Now, no one starts a race with more tradition than here in Indianapolis, and this race couldn't happen without the singing of Back Home Again in Indiana.
Wheel horse.
On the board of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, here is Mary George. Mary.
Good evening, everyone. A special thanks tonight to you drivers, crews, and officials for an exceptional month. Your patience and understanding are deeply appreciated. Although there is only one winner, and Emil is a perfect ambassador for the Speedway and IndyCar racing, in the hearts of the people throughout the world, you are all champions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary George. Yesterday's race goes into the record books once again as a safe race, and that's due in no small part to the officials and the many volunteers who put in time at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to help make it safe. They come under the direction of the United States Auto Club and the chief steward of the 500-mile race. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Tom Binford. Tom.
Thank you, Paul, and I also wish to congratulate the entire field for their performance yesterday, and particularly Emo. He did a fantastic job. It was his race from the start, unless Al Unser Jr. could take it from him, and he sure made a great effort to do so, as did Michael Andretti earlier, and did others. It was a great race. I think it was a great winner, and I was very pleased with most of it. Before I go further with it, though, I'd also like to recognize the stewards that helped me with this event, and not asking them all to sign or stand or naming all of them, but particularly the stewards, Art Myers, who's been with me here for 16 years, and Keith Ward, Bob Castee, Rich Coy, Jack Beckley, Dr. Bach, Lefty Hurt, Jack Gilmore, and Don McGregor, who handles our valves, is the winner of the Chief Steward's Achievement Award this year. It's a $1,000 award for his outstanding work on the valves. I think everybody in the field recognized there was an improvement, and we give Don our congratulations for what he has achieved in that. I wasn't going to mention the white line, but I can't hardly stand in front of any place without talking about it. I hope by next year there is no white line. My son says we... My son says we should have painted it down by the grass in the first place. But I'd hate to tell you the statistics. We tried. We got a lot of four wheels under the line. The rule, I only know the rule, and I'm not sure I know it either anymore. But I will say that I hope that I never have to officiate a race with that rule, and more importantly in that, I hope none of these guys have to either. We'll figure out something. They had enough sense to run a heck of a race and use that safety apron. Actually, I think going on the white line, the times that I was looking at the times I saw it, and I was looking at the monitor as well as looking at pages and pages and pages of stuff. I will say it was such an exciting and passing race that the traffic conditions were such that if it hadn't been for their going under that white line, that race, there wouldn't have been anybody there to finish. But anyway, I appreciate what all of you have done for us for the month of May, and I'm just proud to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
Tom Binford, 16 years, our chief steward. Thank you, Tom. And ladies and gentlemen, let's join in a round of applause thanking all of those officials that did such a magnificent job yesterday. Thank you all. And in just a moment, we've got a little bit of money to give away. We'll be back. And the Indianapolis Motor Speedway would like to acknowledge all of the accessory companies who have participated in the 1989 Indianapolis 500-mile race. A special thanks goes to PPG Industries, who will pay $165,000 among the 33 drivers tonight, in addition to their $100,000 pole award, and to Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and for some of the finest tires ever produced for our competitors, and to Valvoline Oil Company for supplying fuel throughout the month of May. Let's thank those folks. And now we begin, 33rd place. The entrant, Man Sports, Motorsports Incorporated. The driver, of course, is Gary Bentenhausen. Gary? Well, my friend,